SaaS contracts often automatically renew. And if you're running a business, these can be a burden. So if you're running a SaaS business yourself, you're probably using a lot of different tools or infrastructure that is on a certain contract. Those auto-renew if you don't look at the contract itself and find maybe a non-renewal term. If you're having these contracts with your customers, it becomes important for them to be aware of those agreements with you because they might want to stop. But for you, that might mean churning revenue or give you a chance to renew it on different terms or upsell them. So just being aware that in every contract there is a termination notice and a termination date or a renewal date, that becomes important when tracking all of your contracts. So let's take a look here at this CRM. And this is a tool we could use as a SaaS business. So most businesses have a CRM. And of course, as a SaaS business, this is an important subscription to manage all your customers and your relations. So let's take a look at this subscription agreement because often you buy in to a CRM with seats, and this service isn't different. So this service is like the vendor provides Cadence with access to the following service on a subscription basis, and it's a CRM for Cadence sales and success teams. And in this case, we're Cadence Labs. We're being a SaaS company, but we're of course using this vendor to buy our CRM subscription from. So the annual fee here is $27,000 a year. And then, of course, the term renewal and non-renewal notice, that part of this contract is super important to understand. So we've loaded this contract into Contracko here. And what you see here is just the raw contract. So these are the terms that apply, but they're like hidden in the text. And if we read it, of course, we can interpret them, but we might miss them because a year later after signing, we're not aware of these terms anymore or the specific dates. So the dates here are specifically the 15th November 2025 to 14th November 2026. That's when this contract is active. It has an automatic renewal over here. So that's super important. The agreement automatically renews for a further 12 months on 15 November 2026, unless Cadence gives the vendor written notice of non-renewal at least 90 days before the renewal date, which is then super important to know, like not the actual end date of the contract, but there is this notice period you have to respect. So the non-renewal notice must be received by the vendor no later than 17 August 2026. What Contracko luckily does, because you're probably not having all these dates from all these different contracts in your head, is like it extracts this information from the contract and it gives you here in this tab the events and notifications. So we have this notice deadline, which is correctly noted here. It is in 7 days, and it ends on the 17th, but the notice deadline is actually then on the 16th. And it gives you these handy notifications over here. So there's one upcoming 1 week prior on August 9, 2026. So you get a notification like in your email, hey, take a look at this contract because this is going to renew if you're not putting in a non-renewal notice here. What you can do is also like manage these. You can add an event, you can edit a specific notice, like these are already passed because that date has passed. So you already have like received a notice, hey, in 3 months or in 1 month, this renewal notice will be not effective anymore. So take a look at these notifications. what might happen further is you don't have one notification in one contract. Like you have all these different contracts with all these different parties. And for example, here we have the Hyperion Cloud as a counterparty, and it's a service agreement, and we're using their cloud infrastructure. So we're a SaaS. We don't only have a CRM to manage our own relationships, but we also are using another vendor's cloud infrastructure to host our business itself. And this is probably a super important piece for a SaaS business, those cloud subscriptions. So let's take a look at these terms too. We have this annual committed spend for $90,000 a year. It's cloud infrastructure hosting for the Cadence platform, the platform we're building. And then if we look at the term renewal and non-renewal notice, we actually can see that it runs from 1 October 2025 to 30 September 2026. And then the agreement automatically renews for another 12 months on the 1st of October, unless we give a written notice of the non-renewal, at least 30 days before the renewal date. So on 1 September, this deadline passes. So before 1 September, we actually have to give this non-renewal notice if we want to switch vendors, take on a different contract. So it becomes super important to be aware of this date. And again, on this contract, we have these events and notifications. So in the next 30 days, we're seeing this notice deadline, August 31st. And 1 week prior, on August 24, we see that we're getting a notification, hey, take a look at this contract before the 1st of September, because we actually have to put in a non-renewal notice if we're not going to continue with this contract. Otherwise, for next year, we're spending another $90,000 on infrastructure. And it might be that your business has changed, so you might have to downgrade. Maybe you're switching cloud subscriptions, maybe you have to upgrade. So this is what you have to be aware of in every contract that you run, especially in tech and especially in SaaS, because you're managing not only 1 or 2 contracts, you're managing this across like all your own SaaS providers with your customers. So they should be aware of that, or you should be aware of that in your sales process. And now you need a solution like Contracko to track these contracts at this scale, and be aware of all these different dates. If you want to give this a try yourself, we have free trial available on the Contracko website. You can upload your own contracts and see these renewal dates extracted, but also other information like obligations or risks. It does that analysis for you, which I will discuss in another video.